Welcome back. This is an advanced inking and coloring tutorial that I've been promising for a while. And we're going to use this Evil Twin powerlifting gear logo drawing that I did for Titan Support, one of my long-term clients. And so we're going to kind of break this apart briefly so you can kind of understand how it was made. And then we're going to go draw something new. And I'm going to show you all the techniques that I used to make this. I'm going to use it to make something else, probably a skull or something cool like that. So this is, I want to show you something here. So we got this gargoyle, and he's got a broken barbell in his hand because it's a powerlifting company. And he's on an iron cross. It's this evil twin in powerlifting gear, and since whenever. That's going to be the slogan. And with some flames in the back, which I actually did from another tutorial. And you can see the lettering is, it's got some cool faceted 3D look and all sorts of strokes. And same with the iron cross. It's got a lot of details and things like that. And then here's the here's the gargoyle. And believe it or not, this is what I started off with. That was the sketch. I'll pull back a little bit here. Back in the day when I drew on paper, and before there was computers, and it was difficult to fix things. You had to fix things with either whiteout or covering with a piece of paper and redrawing it. So it was really important that my pencils be tight. But I don't do that anymore. I draw on the computer, so my pencils just have to give me a starting point. And so after a conversation with my client, I said, I know exactly what we need to do. So I knocked this out in like 5 minutes, and I scanned it and sent it to him and said, what do you think? And they said, it's great, but how about the barbell is actually, instead of on his shoulder like that, it's broken off like a mace. I said, that'd be a great idea. So this is what I did. I scanned this, and I brought this into Illustrator. And I said, okay, I'll just figure it out as I go along. I knew it would be a vertical format, right? Because I knew there had to be something that he was standing on, and I knew there'd be some lettering of some sort down here, and I knew I'd probably have a background of some sort. But beyond that, I had no idea, and I didn't really need to know. I just knew what I had to do. So, and even though this sketch is very simple, it has some very important things that I think were just key for me. This arm came out great. The way the triceps cut into the bicep here, and the deltoids and the forearms, and the whole angle of his shoulders, it's cocked back, the knees, the proportions. This is solid. So I was like, okay, this is good enough. And that's kind of what I do, is I just kind of make it up as I go along. So I started with that, and then just started drawing. And then I figured it out as I went along. I actually didn't know he'd be on an iron cross. That kind of came later because it just didn't seem right for him to be standing on rocks or something like that. So here we go. And this has a black background here on it. It doesn't have to be there. That's what it looks like without any black background. But the reason I put a black background on it is when I was showing the client, this will be printed mostly on colored garments, black or dark red, so I wanted to make sure it popped on a complete black background as well. So here we go. So we got this creature here, and you can see there's a lot of detail going on. This is just hundreds and hundreds of brush strokes everywhere. But let's go in really close to his face here, and you'll see more and more details start showing up. Now, when I'm doing a drawing for a client, there's two things going on. One, I'm satisfying the requirements of the project, right? So you have certain objectives you need to meet, and then sometimes you just do stuff for yourself. And in this one, the teeth was kind of done for myself, because if we look and zoom in here, we could see there's a lot of detail in each one of these teeth. And I mean, honestly, unless this is blown up the sides is the size of maybe a 10 by 10 pop-up for a trade show, or the side of a building, or a vehicle wrap, nobody is going to see all this great detail in the teeth. When it's printed normal size, it just disappears. It just turns into a little bit of shading on the teeth. But for me, I don't know. I just wanted to. That one's for me. That's like a little secret, little level of detail that really is not necessary. It's completely overkill, but it pleased me. I was just amusing myself at that point. So when you do stuff, that's what artists do. We do stuff that we need to do, and then maybe we'll add a little bit of extra stuff that just for kicks, just to amuse us, just because we can. So there's a good looking face, and his eyes have a lot more detail than actually will show up as well. So let's pull back here, and so you can kind of see what's going on. So there he is, right? And this is done in layers, lots of layers, like right here. See, watch that again. That is the detail shading. That's the body shading on the body. See, still looks pretty good there, but it's flatter, right? It's flatter looking, and so that entire layer right there is this. Now, why did I put on a layer? In Photoshop, you would have to put this on a layer, because Photoshop can only have one instance of a layer is just one thing. But in Illustrator, a layer can be many, many things. Let's open up that body shading layer. And notice here on the layers palette, look, there's just hundreds and hundreds of little brush strokes. These are all on this one layer, on the body right there, see? All of that. So let's go in here. And let's start clicking through. See, there's pieces of his chest right there. These are all little strokes. These are all little strokes here. As I sample them, we can see it's a tapered sharp. I can actually then get my brush, because it's already sampled, and I can add another one. I could add some up here, right? So that's what it looks like. So there you go. See, I'm adding all of these strokes here. Very poorly, I might add, but anyways, you get the point. So each one of those is infinitely edible. So this whole layer here of the body detail. So what I did is I was thinking ahead. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do all this shading. I'm going to do hundreds and hundreds of these. If I leave all of this on one layer, it's going to be almost impossible for me to come through and select individual parts that I need to group and edit later. It's going to be just too hard to find everything. See, all this is just, these are all, and this is on the body color layer. This is on the ink, what I call the ink layer, which is my initial outline. So this is a more body color. So each one of these, I can take this right here, I can just move it. Ooh, there, see? It's out of place. So in Illustrator, everything you do always stays editable. Every stroke you make. So when you're doing an ink drawing, really think ahead, because if you're going to put a bunch of detail on top of some shading, put that on another layer, because you're really going to want to have the ability to do this later. There. So you can get down in there really easily. This one's a stray one. I didn't do that one so well. So here we go. So now let's kind of go through these different layers, and you can see them appear and disappear. So that was body shadow, on, off. This is his head. So that's what it looks like without any of what I'd call the ink lines. This is all, I mean, look at him. He's just gums. He looks like an old man with no teeth. And here it is with all the detail. So you can see how dramatic the difference is. But I also wanted to have that control to be able to work on the head separately. This is head color. You see what disappears? The flames behind the background. You can see this here. This is part of his body right here. This is just his body showing through his head. So his head's on a different layer. This is like this. So this is the hand, what I call the hand color. So what I have here is this barbell here, of course, is one separate shape, right? And I wanted it to have one separate shape because I wanted to really make sure that how this barbell laid across his shoulders is really important, because this looks very different than this here. Right? So that looks a little too passive. So I wanted to find an angle that was just like the perfect angle of action. I didn't want him lifting the barbell off of his shoulder, but I didn't want him resting too. I wanted it to look like he could strike at any moment. So he had to have a certain amount of tension, and the angle had to be right on the barbell. And then, of course, where the barbell covered the wing, I wanted that. So that's why the head is separate. I had to do this head on different layers, so I could put this behind the head, right? But now it comes to the hand. What are you going to do about that? Well, the hand has to be on a completely different, I can't believe somebody's calling me on my other line. So anyways, the hand, so here's the problem is, right, I want to be able to move this barbell around, which means the hand has to be in front, so I could have some control. So that's what I got here. So I put the, let's put this barbell back where it belongs. And so that's what I did. I put the barbell, I put the hand, so the hand over here, hand color, there, see it just disappears? I need to have this hand separate because the thumb needed to be in front, but the fingers, let's look into detail here. You can see the barbell behind these fingers, right? Right through here, you can see this highlight goes right through here. That's another part. So this barbell goes behind. So I need to have this showing here, which means these fingers had to be, that's some detail. The fingers had to be separate so they could sit on top and still show the barbell through. So that's what I mean about thinking ahead on how you're gonna do something like this. Because to give you, I'm always thinking of maximum flexibility. So I want to have this as I want to have as many options as possible. So that's hand color. Here's the ink layer. That was the initial layer that I started off with. That's how this layer right here was the layer I used to build the shape. And that was really important because I knew if I got that right, if I got the right arm, if I got the right knees, if the hands looked just right, all of the detail and the shading I did afterwards would build upon that structure and it would work really well. And then there's the body color. Look, just disappears. All that becomes transparent, right? So there he is in just pure ink form. And then I have wing detail on off. There's the wings themselves, the wing ink lines. Wing color. There it is, transparent. Here's the pedestal, and that took everything else away. So there we go. So that's how that was built. So we're going to build something else off to the side following the same patterns I used to create this. So let's go over here and let's create some new layers for ourselves. So let's just call this one, we'll call this one ink. This is going to be what I would call the main ink line. And there's a couple ways you can do it. I'll show you two ways. On this particular drawing here, I wanted to have a kind of angular, muscular look. I didn't want too smooth of lines. So I used the pen tool because I wanted a certain thickness, like around the knee, and I wanted some dynamics that you couldn't achieve with the brush stroke. It wouldn't create those type of dynamics. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get the pen tool and sorry, spacing out here. Pen tool. So we got pen tool, add anchor point, delete anchor point, and convert anchor point tool. That basically adds handles. Handles is how you control your line after you have an anchor point. We're going to start with the pen here. And let's just let's get our swatches here. Let's get a nice rich black. I like working with rich black of some sort. That's just a regular black, rich black copy. 60, 40, 40, and 100. That's like my favorite rich black. That means 60% cyan, 40% magenta, 40% yellow, and 100% K. And the reason is, you would think 100% K, which is black, would print pure black. Not really. When you print that out in paper or a T-shirt or something like that, it will come out kind of a dark charcoal-ish. It will be very close to black, but not completely black. But when you add cyan, magenta, and yellow to it, what they call it, richens it up. It makes it thick. It makes a really thick, deep, rich black. So we're going to start here on our ink layer and with the pen tool, and I'm going to make a skull here. So I'm going to come across here, and I'm looking for kind of like, I want a cool, like, angular-looking skull. I'm not really trying to go for anatomical correctness on this one. So here's one method. All right, so you see what I'm doing? I'm giving myself way too many anchor points to work with, but that's just, I'm going to show you right now. So let's fill that in. I actually don't want it. I want it to look like that. So there we go. We got this skull thing, right? And let's do his bottom jaw now. And I'm going to come in here. There's the bottom jaw, and let's do some gnarly teeth here. Whoops. I want to deselect that. And let's go ahead and give him some crazy teeth here. I think I'm going to go for like a cartoony looking skull rather than try. I'm just going to have fun with this. So I don't know if this makes any sense when you're watching it, what I'm doing, but let's do the eye socket here and part of the nose. See, I'm only drawing one half the head, and the reason is I don't have to draw any more than half the head. So why? Because I'm just going to duplicate this and then make a copy of it, and let's get him a nose too as well. And I'm just going to draw half a nose. All right, bring in the nose, bring in the eye. So here we go. See, it's kind of angular. That's actually kind of neat. That's a neat effect in itself, right? So, but let's say I want to smooth these out just a little bit. So that's when I take my direct selection tool, and you'll notice none of these have anchor points yet, right? That one actually does for some reason. A few of these will have anchor points, and I mean handles. And see those little handles there? That's allowing me to smooth out the edges. Some of them will have them, some of them don't. So what you do is you go over here and you convert anchor point, which is this little sort of a greater than, lesser than type symbol. And you kind of just do that. And it goes ahead and creates little, see, I just did it, so I just brought that in like that, brought that in this way, brought this way. Now you can go ahead and change all this later. It doesn't have to be this way, but what I'm doing is I'm giving myself points right now so I could smooth this out. Like his eye socket could use some smoothing. So there we go. There. See how that's just swooshes around. So this one would be good. I don't necessarily need anchor points, I mean handles on all of these anchor points. I can just leave some of them, and some are going to delete because there's just too many of them really. And let's go into here. Just so I can smooth these out later, because I know what I'm going to do. I'm gonna play around with this a little bit. I'm gonna have some fun. So I want to give myself some options here to really play with this. the teeth could probably really use some handles here, so I could have more options with that. There we go. And let's get some of these bottom ones. Oh, I gotta complete that one. I'm completing that circle there. I shouldn't have done so many anchor points. It would have been better to do less, but that's okay. So there we go. There's the first level. His head should be a little higher up here. Let's get this a little higher. Let's go ahead and delete some of these. So I'm going to go to delete anchor point. I have way too many anchor points. Don't need that one. Could probably get rid of that one. That one can go. Too many in here. And so, see, I reduce the amount. Now let me go like that. And smooth out. I don't need that one there. That one doesn't really achieve anything. There we go. And that's good enough. So I'm going to take all of this here. And I'm going to group it. And then I'm going to copy and paste it. And then I'm going to go to Object Transform, and I'm going to do Reflect and make it go the opposite way. So there I go. So I just bring this in here. So that's like a really wide skull. So I think what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring this, make it a little tighter here. And then actually I like his compressed eyes. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this eye here, and I'm going to go ahead and shrink it like that. And this one I'll just go ahead and shrink it down a little bit, give it a little more room. The nose, that one needs to go over there, and this nose needs to go over here. Now I got myself a nose, and I don't need all of these teeth because you can see they're overlapping here. So I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these anchor points here and get rid of, and just till it blends into that other tooth. Because I'm going to give him one tooth right in the middle. There we go. And I could take that, move it right here with the deconstruction tool, and move that in like that and there. And this I don't want. I'm just going to smooth that over, kind of line it up. And then I'm going to line up that one here, give him a little smoother head. And I actually kind of like how the chin came out with. So there we go. It's a little kind of a skull little creature. So there's my ink layer, right? Now another way to do this is I could have just done an outline here, and in this case I'm going to fill in, right? I'm creating I'm creating an outline like a trap, and then I'm going to fill it in with stuff later. But I could have just created a an outline here. Finish that off. And then just use this as a foundation, and then came in and actually filled it in like this with like a base color. So let's say I want to make that one kind of like that color. And I could work out, right? So I could do that. So I have a cool outline, right? I created the outline by essentially putting color on top of it. And then I could come here and say, well, this would be the next highlight for the head here. And that goes like that. I want to have that a little bit lighter. And what I'm doing is I'm essentially creating the shapes through adding progressive highlights. You know, there we go. And so you have to think kind of like in reverse. Instead of adding shadows, I'm adding highlights. So you want to think like, okay, what needs to be a highlight? And so, you know, it'd be like, you know, the top of his teeth there, and down below here, right on the chin, he'd have some highlight. Comes across like this, and maybe a little bit here, a little bit there, and then right across here, right across here. Let me get a little bit closer here so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Whoa! And you know, one of these days I'll get better at using the tool there. So now I realize, oh, you know, I need some darkness. So I should have actually created some darkness. So here's his there's one eye socket, and there's another eye socket. Here's his nose. There we go. And I can go ahead and put a little black here because I want to have a little bit of shading here to add on. And I can go ahead and just, you know, might as well just create some teeth right now. I'm going to use that just doing the black with the pencil tool. So there he is. And then we'll take this one here and we'll go the opposite way. And of course there will be some black marks here to, you know, separate his teeth out. And there'll be little ones here. This is just really fast. So, okay, so we've been building from back to front, right? So we're going to go ahead and add some more highlight here. This will be the where the light gets a little bit lighter. Let's go ahead and just go like this. There we go. So that's good. So this is going to be my next layer of this color of highlight here. So I want to have a little bit on the right above the eye socket here. That little highlight's hitting. There. A little bit here above his nose bridge. Let's go ahead and just do a little bit down here below his chin. A little bit here. A little bit here. And his teeth is going to need some. See, I'm not covering the whole tooth because I'm letting the color behind take some of the shape there. I want to have that because I want to have the tooth to have a little bit of body there, and more right there. So let's go back. It's nice, actually. So you see what I did is I start off, this was originally just this, right? Just a black background, and what I did is I just kind of added. This is sort of like an additive method and I'm building from dark to light. So I keep adding highlights as I go along. There'll be maybe one more here if I want to have a little more brightness. I would take that a little bit farther here. Actually, let's just go with a straight like that. There we go. So we're going to add the last bit of highlights here on the teeth. Just like this. And see, I'm leaving a little bit of color. I'm not covering all of it because this is going to create a gradation. Don't want to cover it all. This, I'm going to come around here, give it a little bit, just give it a little shot there, a little shot here, a little bit here, and off to the side. So There we go. So this is one type of method, and it's really fun. It gives you little options. Now, if I want to be nitpicky about it, I would have put each color layer on a different color, right? So, but this is plenty good enough because I just want to. So I'm building the shapes by adding highlights, and the highlights, it's like in reverse. Instead of, when we shade, we're carving out a shape by adding shadows. But in this case, we start off with complete black, and we create shape by adding additional layers of lightness and lightness. And of course, your brain tells you the stuff that's the lightest must be farther forward or higher up, and the ones that are darker must be receding. So that's, I dig that. So here's back to this method here. Boy, this skull, and that one looks a lot better than this one, but we'll just go ahead and stick with it. So there we go. So I got my outline layer here. Undo move. I'm going to group them all. Object group. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to just merge the whole, so it's just one big shape now. There we go. And so I have that on the ink layer. So I'm going to create another layer called color. I'm going to put that below the ink. And what I'm going to do is there's a lot of ways you can do this to create your last back layer of color. I'm just going to use a pencil, and I'm just going to go ahead and give myself some slop here, right? See, I'm overshooting right through, to give myself plenty of room, just like that. All right, see, and that looks really weird because it's black. But let's go ahead and let's make it white, and you can see how it filled in, right? So, and it eclipses everything, so it comes out a little bit farther than it should, and right there. I should have probably just used the pen tool, have a little more control over it. That's good enough. So there, we filled it in, right? So that's and I filled it in with light. And in this case, I'm going to go backwards. This one I started with dark, and I kept building light on top of it. This one I'm going to go ahead and start with light, and then add progressive layers of darkness. So, and I forgot to layer this one, so let's layer this one color. And we're going to come in here, and I'm going to pick a slightly lighter color here. And I'll take my pencil tool, and I'm going to just leave out the places that I want to have completely white here. And then I'm going to go through actually, you know what I'm going to do? So there we go. See, I just left a little bit of white. I'm going to change my mind. What I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to start with I'll start with the light, but I'm going to go ahead and add progressive layers of shadow just based upon what I think will look right. Darker there. Yeah, that looks good. So I'm just going to come in here, and I'm just going to leave some stuff that's white that I think should be white. And so this will come under here. This skull is going to be a wider skull than the other one. And it is going to be all dark inside of his mouth, so I might as well just go ahead and fill that in now. Come back to it later. There we go, and let's do the bottom part here. And let's create something around for his eyes here. There we go, a little bit of shading down the middle. I think I think his eye sockets should have gray. I don't think they should be completely white. And the inside of his nose. There we go. So you see that's kind of coming together. And then we're going to add a little more. We're going to go ahead and go with a little darker here. And now I'm going to add some more shadows. Deselect. So I'm going to add some more shadows right now. And see, I'm not going to go all the way as far because I'm just adding another layer right there. And I think I can add a little bit here. Right in the middle there. I think this whole eye socket just needs to be darker actually. And I'm going to take it down into here. His mouth still needs to be darker, so I'm going to go ahead and just cover most of that. There we go. And then down here at the chin level. See, and I'm not going up all the way. I'm just leaving a little bit. So, we haven't done a whole lot of work on that, but it's creating a lot of depth, which is really nice. So now I got that. Now I want to actually do some nice line work. So I'm going to give this another layer, and I'm going to call this line work, because I'm going to use one of my brushes here to add some lines, because I mix things up. Sometimes I draw with the pencil when I want to fill in shapes, which sometimes they're shadows and highlights, but sometimes they're more ink. And then sometimes I actually use brushes. So I think this brush stroke here, Art Brush 1, will work good. I'm sampling it from there. And I'm going to come in here, and it's got rich black. I'm on the line work layer, and I'm just going to add some detail lines here. These are actually probably this stroke is probably a little too thin for my purposes here, but that's okay. Let's just bump it up. I'm going to take this up to 2 points. Let me see what it looks like now. That's better. So you can see what I'm doing. This is where I'm adding those details. Some of these I might want to bring in all the way, like here. I can make it look like that is an extension of my original outline shape, right? To your eye, since these are both the same level of black, they're looking really good. It looks like it's all connected, so I'm going to come like this. Give this a little bit more. Scoop that in there. And see, now you can see all that great color I put down. And see now the nose is kind of filling out. And then here I can fill in the eye too, like this. I can give the eye a little more depth. Put a few strokes here. That clicking noise, it sounds like it sounds like what it is it's just my pen tablet, and it has a little bit of play in the so it makes like a clicking noise while the brush comes back down. And I'm going to extend this. I'm going to feather this out like this. I think that would look kind of cool. See how much life I brought back to that? I brought to that shape there. Brought a lot of life to it. And let's go ahead and do the inside here. You know what? Let's take this line work here. Let's put it below the. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna leave that actually like that. So that's not too bad. I mean, it's pretty simple, add a lot of depth, but that was more of an additive method, right? And then I can come through and I look at this, I go, oh, you know what I really wanted? This needs some reflective light. I want to bring in some reflective light. So I'm going to go ahead on another layer. I'm going to make this one reflective light. Because that's what I did on the gargoyle. On the gargoyle over here, I gave him a little reflective light here, showing that light is coming up from underneath. It gave it a nice look, like he's overlooking something. So I'm going to give this one reflective light. I think I want to go with, let's go with this kind of a sickly green. This should work all right. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit right here. And a little bit on this side. And just a little bit underneath here. Actually, you know what I want to do? I want to change. I want to put the reflective work under the line work because I want to have it come through like that. There we go. And there we go. A little bit here. A little bit comes up the side here. And the chin needs some. And maybe just a little bit by the teeth. So that's showing that there's some, somewhere around here, there's some in fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead on top of the ink layer. I'm going to create another layer. I'm going to call this reflective light 2. Literally reflective light 2, number 2. And I'm going to experiment here. I'm going to wonder what it looks like if I just put this right into the black under my thick black outlines. So I'm going to put a little bit right here. Kind of nice. Let me highlight all those because actually that's too thick. I don't want it that thick. Let's go back to 0.75, 1.5. Let me look here. Not too bad. I'm going to actually just do my pencil tool and see what it looks like. Now this might not look good at all. I'm just going to try right now and just see what happens. And I actually want to fill that solid. I won't have a stroke on it. Is that better? I don't know. It's a different look. If I put this over here, what it does is it changed the nature of the drawing. The drawing used to have a very thick, masculine outline, but now it's thinner, right? I've added more depth to it here, so it's like a personal decision. Should we have it like that or keep it the other way? I don't know. They're both relevant, but I would definitely put some right here in his, just a little bit right here in his eye socket, because obviously reflective light would fill in his light socket just a little bit in here. And kind of nice. Yeah, we'll keep it. There's two different skulls using two different methods. This one I didn't even really put that much detail in it. I wanted to have it very flat and blocky looking, very pop arty, and this one has a little more detail. Now, of course, it's not like this, but you can see it's kind of the same thing in a way, right? This isn't really that far off from that. Let me bring this one over. It's just got more detail, that's all. It's just, it's just more involved, and I spent more time. But that's essentially what I did, is I decided, I drew little highlights in with pencil. I just love using the pencil tool. Like a lot of this stuff in here, like that, that's a pencil shape. That's a pencil shape. Pencil shape. Pencil shape. Highlights are pencil shapes. So I made lots of pencil shapes. And I intentionally kept it flat. I didn't really want, I like to create my, and a lot of the artwork like this, I like this pop art look that doesn't have a lot of gradients, that I create actually the gradients from just layering and layering and layering on top. So there we go. There's advanced inking and coloring for Illustrator. To review, feel free, mix up. Use your pen tool to create shapes. Use the convert anchor point tool, which actually makes handles to kind of smooth out those shapes. Keep things in layers. Think ahead about what you want to do. Use a combination of pencil, pen, and brushes. Really, you can accomplish anything with those three, and it all depends on what you're most comfortable with. If you like using the pen tool is great, but for a lot of times the pen tool is just way too slow. I can do something faster and get it just the way I want with the pencil. And then maybe I'll come through and then play with my anchor points and my handles on my shape. Like here, I'll give you a quick little example. So here's a little jaggedy thing. I created that, right? So that was created with the pencil tool. Very, very fast. It actually looks like a series of brush strokes, doesn't it? But I can also come in here and play with these and just, change the curves by playing with the handles. So sometimes it's easier just to get it close enough with your pencil tool and then come in later and add the little finessing here. See, I'm creating a little curve here. I've changed the nature of this right here. So sometimes I draw with the pencil tool, right? Pencil tool, and then I come in and then I come in with my direct selection tool and play with anchor points, things like that. And then sometimes I start with the brush and I just do things with the brush like that. Depends on, it's the right tool for the job, but also it's personal preference. In the end, all that matters is it looks good. It really doesn't matter. There's no right and wrong. Nobody's going to look back at your drawing and go, well, you just didn't that's not the way I would have done it, so, we're not going to print this, It doesn't matter. At the end, it just has to look cool. So, do whatever feels right for you, whether you're using a pen tool. Here, let me grab the pen tool. So we got, come on, just regular old pen tool. So we got pen tool. There, just create a shape with the pen tool, brushes, or pencils. And then once you have all these, of course, you can manipulate them all with the direct selection tool and change the look of your brush stroke. Even it's like, now it's a lot longer, right? Now it's got a curve. So they all kind of achieve the same thing, but have slightly different looks. So there you go. There's advanced inking and coloring for Illustrator. And I will post these two files here that I did, the two skulls. I'm not going to give you the evil twin one, of course. That's my intellectual property. But I will post these in a file so you could take them apart and see what they're all about. So thank you.